How many of you are leading design teams where everyone simply just agrees? They nod along. Great idea, boss. Brilliant insight, chief. That's amazing. I should have thought that myself, but you did first. Does that sound familiar? Well, if that's the only responses you get or responses like that, then you have a yes man problem. You also have a lack of critical thinking problem. Problems in both areas leads to a mere product problem. And a mere product problem is where mere products die. And I'm sure you or myself, none of us are here for mere, are we? Here's the thing, critical thinking isn't just some fluffy buzzword, it's the bedrock of good design. It's the difference between creating something that solves a real problem and creating something that creates another problem. It just looks pretty, but fundamentally it's useless. Now, the harsh reality is this: you cannot assume everybody knows how to do it. That is critical thinking. Critical thinking is a skill. You're not born with it. It needs to be taught, period. And I learned some harsh truths around this area as well. I've had to part ways with some amazingly great designers. Why? It's because they lacked critical thinking or they were yes people. And that's unfortunate because you cannot improve designs when everyone simply agrees with whatever it is you say. And that's why there's a danger in one person holding all of the knowledge. Now, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're the head of design at a company, and that company is developing a new navigation app. Now, you've been in the game for 20 years, so your gut tells you that your users they hate hamburger menus. So then you dictate as the leader, as the head of that design company. No hamburger menus, clean visible tabs only. The team, well, they're full of well-meaning people, but they're yes people. So they just do exactly that. They follow exactly what you say. Then launch day hits. Disaster. Users can't find key features. You see, your beautiful tab design based system hides crucial functionality. But why is that? Well, the team they actually didn't question your assumption. They didn't challenge the premise. They unfortunately blindly followed orders. So they became design robots. But like I said, they were well meaning. They had right intentions. However, they were yes people or they simply lacked critical thinking. Now, this isn't just about hamburger menus. Ultimately, this is about empowering your team to challenge your ideas and to reason with data to create the best possible outcome and decisions, the best solution, the best product for your users, for your customers. See, they should be empowered to ask why so that they are able to understand all aspects of the problem that they are trying to solve. And that's another key point as well. If you framed your problem to solve and your desired outcome correctly, and then you use the right frameworks, then you will get a much better outcome. And we'll talk about that in a moment because they need to know all the details and ask, does this solution actually hold up or does it not? And this is why critical thinking is not optional in design, it's mandatory, it's really a requirement. We're talking about understanding user needs, analyzing data, evaluating solutions, making informed decisions. We're talking about questioning assumptions, identifying bias, and challenging the status quo. Now, if your team isn't doing that, they're ultimately not designing, they're pushing pixels. And we are way past the time of just pixel pushing. You really need to be solving problems with, yes, you guessed it, critical thinking. But there are ways in how we can employ critical thinking using prioritization methods as a starting point, for example. So, how do you teach critical thinking? Now remember, somebody isn't born with it. Some people have it, some people develop it, some people have more or less of it. But the point is, it still needs to be taught. Someone still needs to develop it like anything. Start with practical frameworks. That's a really nice place to start. Prioritization is a great place to begin. Now, stop just picking the coolest feature. Start using methods that force you to evaluate ideas based on impact, effort, and confidence. Now, we're talking about frameworks like, and we'll just discuss a few very briefly. ICE scoring is one: impact, confidence, and effort. See, this forces you to quantify the potential of each idea. What about value versus effort matrix? See, this maps features based on the value that they bring versus the effort required to implement them. Win quick versus big bets versus hard work versus thankless tasks. Now, these methods can give your team a structure for evaluating ideas. Now, they have a tool to say, boss, I think that this is a feature that is a high priority because of X, Y, and Z. See, it gives them reason to question, and that's where critical thinking starts. What about SWOT analysis? Now, SWOT analysis is one of my favorites and one of the things that I learned at the very beginning of my career. SWOT analysis really stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, this isn't just for business strategy meetings, even though that is where it's popularly used. It's an incredibly powerful evaluation, decision-making tool or method that helps you to understand how you can evaluate a design, how you can evaluate the design decisions you've made, and features, or even entire product concepts. Let's just say your team is working on a new e-commerce checkout flow. But before sketching, why not do a SWOT? What are the strengths? What are the inherent advantages of the current flow? What are we doing well? What data do we have to help us understand this? Weaknesses. What are the pain points? What are we bad at? What are our customers complaining about? Is there any data we can get to help us understand this? What about opportunities? What trends can we leverage? Is there new tech out there that we can integrate, that we can improve to help with the problem to solve or the desired outcome? What are our competitors not doing? This is how you could potentially create the edge, but also remember there are dangers that come with that as well, which we'll talk about in another video. But threats, what are the potential risks? What new laws might affect us? What is it that our competitors are doing? Again, CCA, competitor comparative analysis. But there are also other things when it comes to laws as well. We think of things such as accessibility. What if your solution is digital? Have you factored in how people who have impairment challenges are able to access and use your product, get through the checkout flow? Very important. In some parts of the world, if that's not delivered properly, you could be opening up yourself to unfortunate lawsuits. The pros. Now, there are pros to using SWOT analysis. You see, SWOT is simple and easy to understand. It's collaborative and it's adaptable to many problems as well. But what about the cons to SWOT analysis? Well, SWOT is not designed for a specific solution to a design problem. Results of the analysis can be subjective, and not everybody has access to data at the time of a SWOT analysis workshop or a moment where you get to work together in a meeting like that, a working group. So SWOT cannot be used to quantify fully the impact of a decision. The team, therefore, is forced to analyze a situation from multiple angles, and they're forced to challenge their own assumptions. See, they have something concrete to discuss and debate. They have the skills to think and critically analyze the project or situation at hand. But what are some practical tips that we can use to foster critical thinking? Well, here's some practical tips for you. There are 3 that we can implement tomorrow to start building a critical thinking culture within your design team. What about the why exercise? I don't know if you've ever done this before, but after every major decision, force the team to ask why at least 5 times. Keep digging until you get to the root assumption. For example, why should we use this color scheme? Why? Because it's trendy? Why? Because it aligns with the brand. Why? Because the brand is perceived as modern. Why? Because we want to be perceived as modern. Is that really the right strategy? Mm, right? It's effective. What about devil's advocate? Assign someone to be the devil's advocate, to be in every design review. Now, their job is not to poke holes in the idea, and it's certainly not about them being negative. It's about stress testing the solution, really trying to break what you have to make it better. That's the whole point of playing devil's advocate. What about data driven debates? Now, encourage the team to use data to support their arguments. Now, this may require some time or preparation to bring the data to that meeting, but the results and the rewards are tenfold. You see, you've got things such as user testing results, analytics, A B testing outcomes, and anything else that can provide some real evidence. I mean, I think this design is better. Well, that's a weak comment to make, to be fair. How about this design performed 20% better in user test? Now that, as a statement, is a lot stronger. So let's recap what we talked about. Why yes men are a design poison. The dangers of top-down design dictation. The importance of critical thinking in UX. Prioritization methods such as ICE, value versus effort. But we also discussed SWOT analysis for design evaluation. But then we talked about practical tips, 3 of them that can help cultivate your critical thinking, especially if you're leading a team. Remember, critical thinking isn't about a one-time training session. This is a cultural shift. So it's about creating an environment where people feel safe to question, to challenge, to disagree. Respectfully, of course, using radical candor, for example, as one really positive way of communication. You're building a better team and building a better product. So stop being afraid of questioning. Embrace it. Now, if your team isn't questioning your decisions, they aren't thinking. And if they aren't thinking, you're paying them to be expensive paperweights. It's your call. Remember, stay present, stay curious. See you next time.